And now for a little high culture, folks. Our next speaker was part of last year's virtual benefit and was so well received that we begged her to come back this year. Reading a poem that she wrote especially for YAF, it is my thrill to present the 2020 Boston Youth Poet Laureate, Alondra Bobadilla. Come on, Poet Laureate.
Hi. All right, I'm gonna just get straight into it. How do we move beyond predictably outdated methodology in a season full of dynamic research-backed possibilities to pave paths towards genuine restoration of the young people being cycled through this system? There's a reason we call it the school-to-prison pipeline. So let me capture the funneling from classroom to jail cell happening right under our glass ceiling. What we invest in is what we want to become. So I guess we are obsessed with locking people up because we spend more money on prisons than schools. And I wish I could say I'm astounded by that news, and I doubt you are either. But swallowing a rock isn't any easier when you're passive. So let me quote out a couple more statistics. Predominantly Black schools are more likely to have police presence. Let that sink in. 85% of juveniles in the justice system are functionally illiterate. Let that plant a seed. 9% of Massachusetts students are Black, but 40% get restrained. Let that water the ground. Black students with special education needs are not given services on time, leaving them behind their peers in their trail of dust, spread out and disfigured like their dreams become when we fail them before the growth has ever become. Let that grow fruit. You can read 1,000 articles, hear 1,000 speakers, all shouting the same thing or denying its validity, making up reasons for its prevalence, and once again blaming children for their existence rather than the collective for our incessant ignorance. You can scream about how the problem begins at home, but the raising of a child takes a village. So when the home fails, and even when it doesn't, the community is equally influential and responsible for the upbringing of the generations. Nature versus nurture is beyond the four walls a child is raised within. You cannot revoke your God-given responsibility simply because you don't like it. Social services exist to serve society, so why does it feel sometimes like they exist to mock the oppressed and enlighten oppressors? I have always been a strong believer in interconnected institutional unity, different minds coming together for a common mission, different gifts, same grace abiding in each of us for the same vision. So when I think of guerreros like Josh Dohan, I think of the concept of parándose en la brecha, standing in the gap, between the teeth of a lion-like system, ferocious and unyielding to change. People like him give us a reason to believe there is possibility for dimensions beyond the broken stages we stand on now, giving us a hope to believe in the phasing out of these one-sided, blind-minded concepts of what rehabilitation of a lost younging looks like. Beyond cuffs and wrist ties and strip downs, but rather a focus on their person, their being. Beyond the case itself and focusing on the heart pumping blood in and out of their system just like your own. Beyond the numbers and into the minds, the souls of the young people we are supposed to be teaching, growing, and serving. How can they become what we ourselves are not? Only two things able to save us from monotonous failure of our children and our youth: truth and compassion in response to truth, mercy in response to misery. In a political climate that seems to seek, employ, and promote further divisive tactics of departments and resources, we need to raise our voices for the Josh Dohans of the systems, for the projects like EdLaw that put as priority the social aspect of social services, the humanity back into human resources, the justice back into justice system. People that work to weave the efforts to progress as intimately as the toxic patterns are already. Takes two to salsa. If we both fall together, we must rise together also. Does it make sense to say there shouldn't be a link between varying institutions that already hold hands together behind our backs anyways? Are we only meant to work together for mutual destruction? I pray that's not the case. And my prayer, day by day, is answered when I hear the silent whispers about the efforts, the blueprint for progress, being built by a collective community of transformative initiators, igniters of prospect, the gentle, persistent flame of prophetic promise, a fire set ablaze by the innovative and people-centered thinking that organizations like YAF represent. So who do we want to be? What do we want to invest in? And how are we going to do this? Inform, seek out, move, respond, promote, believe. The pipelines may have been created for destruction, but we will turn the burden into blessing, ashes into beautiful promise. By learning the game, breaking it, and remaking it, the words we speak activate, and the tomorrow we preach is realized. Thank you.
Wow. Wow, Alondra. That was beautiful and very profound. We thank you for sharing your talent tonight.